They say time heals everything, but some wounds don't close. They just sink deeper. This isn't a story about ghosts in the dark. It's about the kind of haunting that lives inside you. The kind you carry, even when the world sees you smile. It starts not with a scream, but with silence. They say silence is peace, but sometimes silence is a scream no one hears. I sat alone in that dim, creaking room, staring at the photo frame on the table. The glass was cracked just like the life I used to have. A younger me was smiling in that picture, surrounded by people I once called family. But now, they were nothing more than ghosts in my head, whispering things I didn't want to remember. Mama used to say, if you lose something, God will return it in another form. But what if he never did? The last 2 years of my life weren't a fall, they were a slow, grinding decay. First, Papa left, not with a goodbye, not with peace, but with anger and debt and silence. Then Mama's health collapsed like our old tin-roofed house in the storm. And then, she was gone too. I thought losing them was the worst part. I was wrong, because what remained after wasn't pain, it was nothingness. A kind of emptiness that makes you forget your own reflection, that makes every day feel like a punishment for surviving. And people, they don't see it. They see a strong young man. They don't see the nights I cried on the floor, the meals I skipped not because I was fasting, but because I couldn't afford rice, the jobs I worked that broke my back but never paid enough to mend my soul. I never told anyone about the dreams, the ones where I hear Mama calling my name, or the ones where I'm standing in a long, dark hallway running towards someone who's always out of reach. That hallway, it always ends with a door, and behind that door, there's a voice, cold, gentle, familiar. It whispers, do you want it all back? I used to ignore it, but last night, I whispered back, yes. That night, after I whispered yes, the silence didn't bring peace. Instead, it shattered the fragile calm I'd been holding on to. The voice behind that door wasn't just a question, it was a challenge. I found myself trapped between what was and what could never be again. The memories flooded in like a tidal wave. Faces, words, moments I thought I had buried deep, came crashing back with brutal clarity. The laughter of my family, the smell of Mama's cooking, the worn-out shoes of Papa walking out the door for the last time, all replayed in my mind like a film stuck on rewind. But memories aren't always kind. Sometimes, they're a cage. I woke up in the dark hours, sweat clinging to my skin, heart pounding like a war drum. I realized that holding onto the past was like clutching sand. No matter how tight I squeezed, it always slipped away, leaving nothing but emptiness. Yet, I couldn't let go. How do you move forward when the very ground beneath you feels hollow? Days blended into nights. I worked harder, took every job I could find, but the weight inside never lifted. The void grew louder, whispering doubts and fears. It wasn't just about surviving anymore. It was about proving to myself that I wasn't broken beyond repair. One evening, I walked the streets alone, the cold air biting at my face. The city lights flickered like distant stars, unreachable but hopeful. I thought about the voice behind the door again. What if this wasn't just a temptation to relive pain, but a test of strength? I told myself, if I'm going to face this hollow inside, I need to be ready. Ready to confront the darkness, the fear, the grief, because I know now, running from the past only deepens the silence, and some silences scream the loudest. A week passed since I heard the voice behind that door. I tried to convince myself it was just a dream, just my broken mind playing tricks on me. But something changed. That hallway from my dreams, it started bleeding into reality. Every time I closed my eyes, even for a second, I found myself there, that same endless, dim corridor, the walls pulsing like they were alive. No windows, no exit. Just that door at the end, and always, always, the same voice, whispering promises I couldn't ignore. One night, after another long shift carrying bricks for a construction site, I came home to the small room I called shelter. I sat on the floor, back against the wall, exhausted beyond words, but something was off. The air felt thicker, and then I saw it. There, Where my cracked bathroom door used to be was that door, the one from the dream. Same decayed wood, same rusted knob, same strange markings along the frame that looked like ancient letters, or be scars. My breath caught in my throat. I blinked. Once, twice, still there. I should have run, screamed, called someone. But instead, I stood up and walked toward it. My fingers hovered over the handle, cold, too cold, and just like before, the voice came again, not loud, but close, too close. You said yes. Are you ready now? My heart pounded so hard I thought it would break through my chest. I swallowed. My voice shook. Ready for what? No answer, only the silence, and the door creaked open by itself. Inside, darkness, not the kind you see when you turn off the lights. This was thicker, alive, breathing, watching. I stepped inside, and instantly the world disappeared. It was like falling into a void. No ground, no sky, just endless black, and in the center a figure. I couldn't see its face, but I knew it knew me. You carry grief, anger, loneliness, but you've hidden one more thing, it said. You carry a wish. My mouth was dry. What wish? The figure tilted its head. The one you never speak of, the one that burns beneath your skin. I didn't answer, because I knew what it meant. It was true. I didn't just want peace. I wanted something darker. I wanted revenge. Never admitted it before, but deep down, beneath all the sorrow and helpless nights, there was rage, a quiet, boiling rage, at life, at the people who left, at those who hurt my family and walked away untouched. That figure in the dark, whatever it was, felt it, fed on it. It stepped closer, its shape flickering like fire in the wind. You want them to feel what you felt, it said. You want them to carry the same silence, the same hunger, the same loss. I didn't deny it. Maybe I should have, but instead, I whispered, yes. The void responded like a pulse. The darkness rippled around us. I felt something shift inside me, a crack opening, letting something crawl out from the corners of my soul. Then we will make a deal, it said. I froze. What kind of deal? The figure raised one trembling finger and pointed at my chest. Your pain, your memories, your emptiness. Give them to me. In return, I will give you clarity. Clarity, the ability to see the truth behind the smiles, to hear what is not spoken, to find every hidden scar and expose them. I hesitated. And what's the cost? It leaned close. You will never be the same. Silence fell again. Not the comforting kind, but the kind that presses against your eardrums like a scream held back. I thought of Mama, of Papa, of those nights I cried into a pillow while the world moved on like I didn't matter. And I said, take it. The void exploded into colorless light, the kind that burns not your eyes, but your thoughts. Then I was falling again, but this time I wasn't afraid. When I woke up, I was back in my room. Or what looked like it. The door was gone. My hands were shaking. My head pounded like a drum. But everything felt colder, sharper. I looked into the cracked mirror hanging on my wall and saw someone staring back who wasn't quite me. Same face, but something behind the eyes had changed. And from that day on, I started seeing things I shouldn't. At first, I thought I was hallucinating. Faces around me began to blur, not their skin or features, but the masks they wore. I saw smiles that didn't reach the eyes, heard voices filled with envy behind kind words. And worst of all, I started to hear their thoughts, not in full sentences, but in fragments. Broken, ugly shards of truth buried under politeness. He's pathetic. Why is he still trying? Good thing his family's gone. One less burden. I tried to shake it off, pretend I was just exhausted. But no amount of sleep fixed it. If anything, dreaming only made it worse. In dreams, I saw memories that weren't mine. A man throwing away his wedding ring before hugging his wife. A friend laughing with someone, then stabbing them in the back the next day. A child praying every night for their parents to stop fighting, only to wake up to shattered glass and screaming. And always, that door in the hallway, waiting, calling. I began to walk through life like a ghost. I didn't talk much. People said I was changing. becoming cold, strange. They didn't know what it was like to carry everyone's lies in your head. But here's the strange part. I didn't feel empty anymore. Not in the same way. The old emptiness was pain. This new one was power. I could predict betrayal before it happened. I knew who to avoid, who was pretending, who would hurt me again, and I cut them out without guilt. Wasn't that what I wanted? To never feel helpless again. But with each lie I uncovered, something inside me grew hungrier, colder, more distant from the boy in that old photo frame. One night, I saw a familiar face in town. A man who once mocked my family when we fell into debt. He smiled at me like nothing ever happened. I looked into his eyes and saw fear, not because I threatened him, but because he knew I saw through him. I didn't say a word, just smiled and walked away. But that night, I dreamed again. This time, the voice behind the door whispered, "Now you understand, don't you?" I woke up trembling, because I did, and I wasn't sure if that made me stronger, or something else entirely. The world didn't change. People still smiled with knives behind their backs, still prayed in public and sinned in silence, still talked about love while drowning each other in hate. But I changed. I used to wake up hoping for something, anything to feel like home again. Now, I wake up wondering who I've become. Sometimes, I stand in front of the mirror for minutes, staring, not at my face, but at what's missing behind my eyes. There's no boy in the photo anymore, just a hollow shell that learned how to wear masks better than the rest of them. And I ask myself, did I survive my pain, or become it? I still walk the streets, still see the places that once held memories. But now, they're just buildings, just background noise to a life that no longer echoes warmth. I haven't dreamed in weeks, not since that night. The door is still there somewhere in the corner of my mind, but I don't need it anymore, because now, I carry the voice with me. It doesn't whisper, it breathes through me, guides me, strengthens me. Some might call it madness, others, awakening. But if you've ever lost everything, if you've ever begged the universe for a reason to stay alive, and heard nothing back but your own broken voice, then maybe you'll understand. Maybe you've heard it too, the silence that isn't silent. So, let me ask you, what would you become if the only way to survive was to stop being human? This has been The Hollow Within, a true psychological horror. If this story whispered something into your soul, something you couldn't quite explain, then maybe you're not alone after all. Don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments, because sometimes the scariest things we face are already living inside.